Welcome back to Simply Money. Today I'm going to be recapping my October income portfolio. For those who have watched the channel, this is where we go over the last month's performance, any moves that I've made, and we look at the dividends and the income and then get a summary of all of it put together. So stay tuned. Welcome back to Simply Money. Thank you for joining me today. I appreciate all your support. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that. It really helps out the channel. We're going to be looking at our summary here of the different funds. Let me move myself around here a little bit so I'm not blocking the screen. You guys give me great feedback. Keep it up in the comments. Let me know your thoughts on these. We're starting out here with SCHD, obviously for October. We did not have any dividends. We got the dividend back at the end of September. I did sell out a little bit more of this fund as I'm beginning to consolidate and build up my income rates, my yield levels. For those who have been watching, understand what I'm doing there. I have a large portion, a large position in SCHD, as you can see. I've been having that since 2017. I've begun selling out of some of that. It's a great fund. I'm not upset with SCHD. I am holding that. I'm going to continue to hold a large position in that, but I will be trimming that somewhat. So you can see there's not a lot going on with that in here. I did sell out about 246 shares of that this month. So let's move over here and we'll start looking. We'll just go across the board here. WPAY. For those who have been watching me with WPAY, you know this is my new position. I started out with 49 shares, about $2,600. And for October, every week I'm putting about $200 into it as well as reinvesting the dividends. So you have the dividend, 88 cents right here. You can see that paid out $51. And the share price from the beginning of October was $53.80. As of the last dividend, it was $54.82. So we're seeing a little bit of appreciation there. It's bounced up and down a little bit, but it's been holding really nice and steady. These dividends, let's look at those real quick. We have 88 cents, we have 73 cents, we have 86 cents, some buys there. Then we have 73 cents and then 63 cents. As you can see, my dividend payments on that has gone because I've put in these $200, and when I sold out of my SCHD, I bought a larger position in here on October 15th when it was $52.95. I picked up a few shares there, so that brings my share total up to 236. The value gained right now, again, this has only been a month and a half, not even, just over a month that I've been holding this. $1,000 of gain there, so I'm not really worried about that at this point. I do like that I've gained 236 shares. I like that the share price is growing. And you can see that I've continued every week to buy that $200. So that's just what's been happening with that. We'll go through this again real quick, and then I'll show you the summary of everything. CHPY, this one here is another new fund that I've been holding since the end of September, where I bought into there. And see at the end of September, I bought about 175 shares. Then I added another position a little bit higher, another 158. Again, that sometimes because my SCHD, which I'm selling out of some of that, moving it comes from different funds. So sometimes I don't get all that on the same day, or I'll hold it and maybe try to see if I see a little dip. Not really big on doing that. I just, when I get it, I buy it unless I feel like it's just really overpriced. So for October, you can see that the dividends have been 41, 43, 41, 58, and 46 cents. The dividend payments each week, have gone from 136 up here to 197, 160. So it's been nice. And we'll go over all the dividends here on the next sheet, but I just want to go through what's been happening, my fund balances on these. So this fund now has about just under 21,000 in it. IWMI, which is my small caps ETF that I'm holding, that pays monthly. got one dividend payment, 59 cents. That's an $82 a month payment. Only have just under $7,000 in that one. So you can see here, again, it's not a lot of movement either way. It's only been a month. So just showing you what we have on these so you can continue as you follow along on these monthly updates. I think the only really one that was down will be this one here and one other, but YBTC, you can see we started the position with about $7,000. Again, a couple days later, we added a little bit more, 5,000 on that. Our total shares on that is 319. It's about $12,500 in that position. It is down a little bit. As you see, the share price was $45.30. It's down to $39.03 on that one. The dividends have been pretty consistent. This last one was a little bit lower with 30 cents. But most of the dividends this past week were a little bit lower just because the market had dipped a little bit. So that's going to happen. The dividend payments, nice steady $100, pretty much right in that area for each of the weeks. And being a 5-week month on the paying of these, that's very nice. As you see there, you have 5 payments in October. Let's go over to BLOX. I think this is the newest edition. You have just under $7,000 in there, 262 shares. The dividend that we've gotten on those two since we got it are 18 cents and 17 cents, paying right there at $46 a month. Brings our total shares to 266 on that. So we'll be watching this one as well. You can see the share price is, again, only in a couple weeks, so I don't really even bother looking at that. I know some people get all crazy with that. If I don't have many, many months to go on to look at, it doesn't really faze me. In fact, if you look at my SCHD, we'll go back there real quick. You can see we've been holding that for a long time. Started out at 15.10 right here. If we're going short term, people see, oh, it went down to 14.79. And then it went up to 17, so people think, oh, that's great. Then again, it went down to under 16 here to 15.82. So in these short terms, you're going to see that. But look at long term. For when we bought it, $15.10, that was our main purchase, and then the rest has just been dividend reinvestments for quarter after quarter after quarter for these years. And our price reached up here to $26, and it dipped again, and now we're been hovering around the 26, 27. We had got up to $28 for a moment there, but it can't seem to push that ceiling. It's kind of where it's been stuck for a while, but it'll get there. But that's not bad. We've almost doubled the share price in that time frame. As you can see, the number of shares that we've added, and each quarter we're adding this number of shares, and you can see the total value of that portfolio, how that rises. So when you go back over here, and we're only looking at 2 weeks, and it's nothing to even really bother watching in that sense. Yes, you want to watch it, but it's not something to get concerned about and to panic and freak out. So let's go over here to another monthly payer, QQQI. Again, for October, we got a 64-cent dividend. So since July, we've had 64, 63, 64, and 64. So it's been nice and consistent. And see, because we've had some extra buys, I went through this on the other video where I got into the position and then it continued. We added some with that. We did a little bit of rearranging with some things, but you can see those dividend payments now monthly, getting $750 on that, adding 13 more shares each month as we take that dividend and reinvest it. You can see your total right here, that 65,111 is that portfolio or that position's funds. And the share price from July, 52.44. We're up to 54.85 right now. Again, it could go below this and stay there for a while, but long term, this looks like it's going to be a nice growth factor for us. So we're excited for this fund as well. And it brings us to SPYI, another monthly strong performer here. Same thing with QQQI. We got into that about the same time. Had some extra buys that we did, and we've done some rearranging with some of that. Our total shares here at 1124. our position, about 59K on that. But look at the dividends here, 51, 52, and then we had a bunch of buys there, 53 and 53 cents. So very consistent, getting $586 on that. So these are the positions, what we've been doing with these, what's been happening, and brings us to our last one. Everyone's either favorite or least favorite, either love it or hate it. ULTY, leave your comments down below. Are you a lover or a hater of ULTY? Get a lot of comments both ways. That's fine. Let me know what you think about ULTY, but here's where we're at with that one. You can see we're back in July, August, buying into that was kind of the move, and then we've been just reinvesting those dividends. Look at the dividends here. They've been 10 cents, and they dropped into the 9 cents for a while in this last one, which got a lot of people panicking. 8 cents, the share price has dropped below that $5 and sat there for a few weeks, so a lot of people are starting to freak out on that. But we are in the green, not by a whole lot, but we are in the green. As those of you know that follow the channel, this was the big experiment ULTY that we were doing. Just kind of watching what it does and showing that on the channel each week, each month as we see what happens. You can see the weekly payments on that, 368, 385, 370. So just in October, we have those 5 payments of 370 to 380 each week. But we're reinvesting that. And we've done the drip scenarios. If you've watched those videos where we do 100% drip on a hypothetical $50,000 investment, we do a 50-50 where you reinvest 50% and you keep 50% out for spending, bills, etc. And then we do a no drip where you keep the entire amount. And what that does in the short term and long term of investing of, say, a $50,000 investment. So a lot of people like watching those. You can check those out on the channel as well. But that's what ULTY's been doing. This is one that gets a lot of, a lot of noise. But look at the underlying. This is not up to date, so don't look at that as far as these charts. But I just want to show you the holdings and realize this is what you're actually looking at. This is what they're buying. This is what ULTY holds. And then they're doing covered calls on those. They're doing calls and puts on that. They're different maneuvers that they're making with that to generate the income that they do. So when you're looking at this NAV price, that's where people get confused. They think, oh, well, this is losing value. That's just the money that they're using to make the calls and puts with. The underlying funds still hold the value that they hold. And some of them have dropped dramatically and some of them have gone up dramatically. They're very high volatility. That's what they've chosen. They've chosen about 30 companies that have a high implied volatility. So it's going to be a very bumpy ride. And they may very well, I talked to Mike Koo, they may very well end up doing a reverse split. Let's just use this as an example. And I'm going to round these numbers off so I can do the math in my head. But say we do a split here, just 2 for 1. So instead of 4,418 shares, I'd have 2,209 shares. But this right here is going to go up to 16 cents because the yield percentage that they're shooting for and they're generating is going to stay the same or around the same amount. So that's where people think, oh, if this goes and they split it and it goes back up to $10, then you're only getting 8 cents on half the number of shares. That's not how it's going to go. They will increase that because it's a yield that they're looking at, a percentage. And so that typically increases at the same level. If they do a 2-to-1 or a 4-to-1 split, whatever, or 1-to-4, whatever the case might be. So that's what we're looking at there. Now let me slide over here. Now we're going to look at our October. This is everything summarized. So this is just a very simple chart that I use. I don't sell this one. This is just me. What I do is I put in each time I get a dividend, the date, the symbol, and how much it is. And so you can see October, these are all the payments I received. Now, if I had my drip turned off, these would all be going straight into the bank account. On the first, I'd get $50. On the second, I'd get $112. On the third, I'd get $142, $364. Then the eighth, $62. So you can see that just you're bank is just getting these payments, and that brings us down by the end of the month. And this doesn't even include SCHD because that's a quarterly payer, and we saw that in September. For the month, it brings us to $5,275 that were paid out that I used to reinvest and buy more shares. And broken down here, QQQI $756, SPYI $585, ULTY brought in $1,541, IWMI brought in $82, WPAY $359, CHPY almost $800, SCHD $0 because it's a quarterly payer, and YBTC $445. You can look over here at September where SCHD paid. You can see that was a $3,000 payment. They get that every quarter, so that works out to about $1,000 a month. Again, this month I didn't have that, but still brought $5,275 that was generated. So if you look at the cumulative, you can see October. Now, for those who have been watching the channel, you can see where I started switching over from the SCHD, trying to drive that yield up a little bit, going toward more of the income focus as I start pairing and building that snowball with the drip until I get ready to turn it off and do a percentage drip. I hope to not have to do, obviously, 100% drip. It's looking very good that I will not have to at this point. But you can see where the quarterly payments between SCHD were pretty minimal because I had like JPQ and then I had a few other little things there, but mostly it was SCHD. So I'd get one quarterly payment that was rather large. Then I'd get a small payment here again. It was going up a little bit as I made some small little changes. And then again, you get the quarterly payment, a big payment, and then, the next month wasn't up. But as you remember, I started a lot of these with QQQI, SPYI in July, and then started doing the others like ULTY and CHPY and all into August and September. You can see when I had August, it went up to $3,000 and $1,200 in July compared to where I was in April and May. Again, September, it is up a little bit from June, the quarterly, because of SCHD. It's up about $700 there. But this is the big thing. Look at this now. For October, the in-between quarterly payments, the monthly and weekly payments, bringing that up to $5,276. So I'm excited as we get this going. And then next year, we're going to be seeing this where it's going to be the $5,000 and up range each and every month. That's going to be really nice watching that. And as that snowballs and as we watch this chart just go up to the right here. So we'll be keeping track of that. And that's what this chart is for here, just for me. A quick reference look at. I can look back month to month and see how it's grown. Again, this is where I started making my move into more of the income driven. I'm not a full income driven person. Some people are all in on the weeklies and things, and that's fine. That's their business. My income portfolio still has a large holding of SCHD, and then I have a growth portfolio, which I don't share on the channel. That's just kind of long term. That's going to sit there. That may feed into this years down the road as I have to sell that off maybe to help keep up with inflation or anything that might happen. But that's just a long-term play. That's my bucket. This will be my income bucket. I'll have some cash in the bank when I go to retire. That'll be my short term. Not have to touch this if I want to keep the drip on. Maybe the market's down, the dividends are down, whatever, so I don't want to take the distributions. I'll have a cash bucket of whatever amount I decide when that time to retire is. Then I'll have my income bucket, my short-term bucket here, which is the one I share. This will be pretty much my month-to-month, where at this point, if I'm looking at $5,000, $6,000 per month, I may take out $4,000 or $5,000 a month and then reinvest the rest. But hopefully as we progress closer to that retirement time, this will be up higher so I can take out maybe 60, 70% and drip the rest. We'll just see how it progresses. But that's the goal. And then the SCHG and the growth fund stuff, that'll just be long-term, 10 years, 15 years down the road. If I need to sell a little bit to boost these other accounts up, that's what that'll be there for. So that's the monthly recap for October. What are your thoughts? Give me your feedback down below. Appreciate you watching. and sharing, giving me your input, your thoughts, your feedback, your suggestions. That's where we get ideas for new videos. Everything is done here that we're doing is to try to give you the best tools you can to make your decisions. Remember, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. You need to do your own due diligence, make your own decisions based on your risk tolerance, your goals, and make sure you're doing your homework on these funds. So that's it. Thank you for joining me today on Simply Money, and we'll see you next time.